Crocoin currently sits right under a key area of price action at the 10-cent level, and just a couple of days after we saw a massive spike in transactions on the Cronos chain, the Cronos Labs team has announced a new Cronos hyperchain. Now, following this announcement, we just actually saw some more details for what this hyperchain is going to entail for the Crocoin ecosystem, and you can expect to hear about all of that and what it means for the future of this altcoin in today's episode of the Everything Crypto Show. Now, before we hop into today's content, just a friendly reminder that I am not a financial advisor, nor do I offer any sort of financial advice on YouTube. I'm simply here for your crypto news and entertainment purposes. And if you do find these videos informative and or entertaining, please consider hitting that sub and like button and turning that notification bell on so you can be notified when all of my latest videos go live. So I do want to walk us through a couple of things here today that has been going on with Crocoin and its surrounding ecosystem lately, as there has been a ton of traction and a lot of good news coming out for this project over the past couple of weeks. So for starters, we actually saw an announcement on December 18th, so yesterday, that Cronos did finally cross 100 million transactions. Now, we can definitely attribute a lot of this kind of hitting this milestone to the inscription craze that has been going on over the past couple of days, really over the past week. I mean, we saw it start with Bitcoin earlier in the year, and then we've kind of seen it make its way into a ton of other chains, including Polygon, Arbitrum, Avalanche. Ironically, the Arbitrum Layer 2 got so many inscriptions that it actually became more expensive than just settling on the Ether Layer 1 chain. So inscriptions have definitely taken a lot of these different blockchains by storm. And yeah, the Cronos chain was no exception here. We can see that earlier on in December, this chain was averaging about 50 to 60,000 transactions per day. And then by December 12th, we saw this shoot up to 1.5 mil, December 13th, 2.7 mil, and by December 15th, the Cronos chain had actually processed about 5.8 million transactions in a single day. Sorry, that's actually 6.2 million by on Saturday, December 16th, which was the record. And now it has kind of made its way back down to 1.485 mil, still substantially higher than the average it was seeing here before the inscription craze kind of started. And we kind of spoke about this last week when this chart was going bonkers, because we saw a lot of the popular dApps on Cronos, like VVS, which is the biggest DEX, like Fulcrum Finance, the biggest perpetual trading exchange. They actually were having some issue operating because the Cronos chain was producing blocks a lot slower. And the kind of concern that we kind of pointed out in that video is that, you know, if we want Cronos to see this mass adoption, it needs to be able to settle a lot of transactions, okay? It needs to be able to effectively scale. And I do think that's a very fair argument to make, right? Because if we take a look at the Binance Smart Chain here, we're going to go ahead and go to resources, charts, and stats, daily transactions, okay? And we can see here, you know, just like Cronos, the Binance Smart Chain did get hit by this inscription craze, spiked out at about 32 million transactions. But even back here at the lows, it was processing like 2 to 3 million per day and still operating, right? And offering very cheap fees. And yeah, we need to see the Cronos chain kind of do the same here if we do want to see that scalability. And it looks like the Cronos chain team was already prepared for this even before the inscription craze, as we actually saw them announce the very next day the public ZK EVM testnet. Okay, so Cronos Labs is working with Matter Labs, the team behind ZK Sync, and engineering teams from Crypto.com, VVS Finance, Fulcrum Finance, and Vano Finance. And just basically contributing to the Cronos ecosystem with this new zero-knowledge hyperchain. So the Cronos ecosystem at the moment already includes a top 10 blockchain by TVL in Cronos, and that depends what you actually include in the TVL. Because if you just include the Cronos chain at its base, then yes, it is in the top 10. However, if you actually go ahead and account for staking and liquid staking protocols in the blockchains, Cronos actually finds itself in the top 15, okay? Not the top 10, but still, we can see here that the Cronos chain boasts a nice 368 mil in total value locked, and that does not even account for the Cronos POS chain, which has another 300-something mil in TVL. So, if we factor in both of the chains that Crocoin does essentially power, that would put its TVL between these two chains in and around the 650 million ballpark, maybe even closer to 700 mil, and that puts it more in line here with these chains like Thorchain, Ultron, right behind Optimism and Polygon by about 100 mil, more or less 150 mil. Basically, the point being made here is that Crocoin does have a very extensive ecosystem, and that doesn't even kind of touch upon the fact that it is the native token of the Crypto.com exchange, which has been growing incredibly fast. So the Cronos ZK EVM testnet represents an opportunity for Cronos Lab and partners to experiment with ZK Layer 2 technology to prepare for the next phase of growth starting in 2024. So when we introduced the ZK stack, we opened up the door for anyone wanting to build on top of Ethereum to do so by deploying hyperchains. Whether you're building a specialized rollup or a general purpose one, hyperchains allow you to tap into Ethereum's extensive user base and liquidity while preserving its robust security and decentralization. We are extremely excited to see Cronos deploying a hyperchain with their extensive and diverse ecosystem of millions of users, as well as the impressive financial value stored on chain. They will be a great use case for the mass adoption of hyperchains. So at the moment, this is still in its testnet phase, and we did get some news today on when we can expect a mainnet launch, which we'll get into in just a second. But just to kind of get a foundation for what exactly this means. So the Cronos ZK EVM testnet is a zero-knowledge Layer 2 rollup network on top of the Ethereum Sepolia testnet, meaning it is secured by the ETH testnet, both from a final settlement and a data availability standpoint. This is the first live public testnet utilizing ZK Stack, a modular open source framework leveraging ZK Sync's code that is designed to build custom ZK powered L2s and L3s referred to as hyperchains. Hyperchains are fractal-like instances of ZK EVM networks running in parallel and with a common settlement on the Ethereum mainnet. In 2024, hyperchains will adopt a shared native bridge to the Ether mainnet as well as unified interchain messaging, which will make it possible for users to send tokens, messages, or transactions across hyperchains while benefiting from the security of the Ethereum network. And as part of internal performance benchmarks, hyperchain technology can already deliver in excess of 100 TPS, with significant performance improvements planned for the coming months. Now, speaking of the coming months, I do want to talk about the potential launch date for the Cronos ZK EVM, which currently is set for June of 2024. So we saw the announcement earlier at some point last week or sometime late last week, and now they have already gone ahead and basically stated they're looking for a full-scale launch by June of 2024. Now, what can we expect when it comes to the Cronos ZK EVM? This was a great post here from Ken Timsit, who does actually work at Cronos Labs. I believe he's like the CEO of Cronos Labs. So Cronos ZK EVM is a new Layer 2 which will coexist with the Cronos chain, the EVM Layer 1 built on Cosmos SDK, and the Cronos POS chain, which they're referring to as a Layer 0 built on Cosmos SDK. This is aligned with our vision of a multi-chain world. So they have a Layer 0, a Layer 1, and now a Layer 2 with a targeted timeframe for mainnet launch by June of 2024. So the new network aims to introduce several distinctive strengths aligned with the emerging trends of the next market cycle. First of all, a strong community of users and dApps that have proven their passion and resilience through the bear market. Partners like VVS, Fulcrum, and Vano Finance have crafted high-quality apps that deserve to be better known and have the potential to scale in the next market cycle. This new chain will enable participating apps to scale to the next level. Secondly, shared liquidity. When users hold cryptos on a hyperchain, their assets are secured by Ethereum, where they can always choose to withdraw. Besides, they can transfer their assets to other hyperchains securely and at low cost thanks to unified bridge and messaging. And third, yield-bearing assets. At this point, we expect that the network token backed by Crow and several stablecoins and other cryptos will be natively APY generating for users just by holding them on chain. which can be achieved via rebase tokens. So with this new chain, we can create an entire ecosystem of dApps that treat yield-bearing tokens as first-class citizens and can effectively compete in a high-interest rate economy. And fourth, account abstraction, so users can deposit funds to the chain and transact with dApps without ever having to switch networks. This is very important in terms of the interoperability of these different chains. So dApps on Cronos zk-EVM should support account abstraction by default so that they can take care of the relaying transactions to Cronos zk-EVM and even paying for gas, which would be very big for that widespread adoption in my opinion. And yeah, honestly, so far it does all sound very interesting, and it does definitely sound like what we would want to see out of a further addition to the Cronos ecosystem. So we got the layer 0, we got the layer 1, and now we are looking at the layer 2 launch for June of 2024. And I do wonder why Cronos POS is actually not on DeFi Llama. I don't know why, right? Because it is by all means its own chain, so it should be on here in my opinion. And if it was actually on here, you would know now that, you know, Cronos basically has two ecosystems, over 300 mil in TVL. And once again, we are now looking at another layer 2, which should and hopefully will bring even more value locked into the ecosystem. And the more demand we see for, you know, for Cronos chain, for any of Crypto.com's products that they put out that do, you know, basically utilize Crocoin, right? Whether it's for gas fees or for the Visa program in the main app, this should also equate to more demand for the Crocoin token itself. Now, to wrap things up, I do want to talk about the Crocoin token itself, as after kind of just hanging in above that 10 cent level there, we are now once again below it. And you can see here that, you know, the run really started back in mid-October, mid to late October. We were sitting at about 5 cents. We ran up over double up to about 12.5 cents, found our way coming back down here, making this set of higher lows, getting rejected at that 10-cent level, which we have spoken about being a very strong area of support, now flipped into resistance for the price action. And you can see here we got back above it, but ever since we got back above this level of support, we just kind of made a series of lower highs, which is generally not a good look when we're trying to hold an area of support. And now we are once again below it, sitting at about 9.5 cents. So currently just watching Crocoin to see if it can in fact reclaim this uptrend and get back above that key area of support at the 10-cent level. So on that note, I hope you did enjoy the content in today's video. Let me know what you think about the upcoming Cronos hyperchain. Are you pumped? Do you not care? Let me know in the comments down below. I hope you all enjoyed the content in today's video. I hope you are all staying happy, safe, and healthy, and I hope to catch you in the next one. Peace out for now.